Speaking behalf of the Diaz family, Alexandria Diaz and Eric Cabello.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alexandria Diaz. I was Deputy Ignacio Dan Diaz's daughter. I am. Not sure how well I'm going to keep my composure during this speech, but here I am. First and foremost, I would like to acknowledge the Paez and Waller family throughout this tragedy that we've all experienced together. We got to meet for the first time this morning, and it was an instant camaraderie and just connection between the pain that we've all felt this week. Secondly, I would like to acknowledge the law enforcement and organizations who have been here throughout the week, supporting me and my family, as well as the Paez and Waller families. I would like to start with Sergeant Scott Yoder. I've known Sergeant Scott Yoder my entire life. He has been a pillar to my family this week. He has been managing all three families, running around like crazy, and yet still keeping a smile on his face, cracking jokes, and making everyone feel good. I would also like to give a special shout out to Deputy Dave Verone. Dave Verone has been another pillar for our families this week, offering any help that we needed at any time of the day, calling every single day to see how we all were doing. I would like to thank PBSO as well as the Broward County Sheriff's Office, who have been there since day one. They actually escorted me from Fort Lauderdale Airport all the way to St. Mary's to see my dad in the hospital. Growing up as a child of a law enforcement officer, as well as anyone who's in the life of a law enforcement officer, we all have the worst nightmare, the call, the knock on the door, but nothing quite prepares you for the day that it actually comes. Last Thursday, it was my grandmother's birthday. I woke up to wish her a happy birthday, and the next call I got was a call that I had to get on the plane immediately because my dad had been in an accident. Naively, I was told he was in surgery, and I thought that I was going to be coming into a hospital with him waking up and being able to talk to him. Sadly, that was not the case. Nothing prepares you for these moments. Nothing prepares you for what that's going to feel like. During this time, I've been told by many people to be strong. My strength has always come from my dad. My dad has been my strength my whole life. He's a single father. It's been him and I my entire life. So throughout this week, I've just been channeling him, thinking of him and the things that he would want me to do. I was actually offered to not speak today, and I thought of my dad and how he would tell me to not give up and to go ahead with it and not be scared and face my fears and go along with it. Another common theme of the week is people asking how I'm doing. That's been a hard question to answer. Usually, you would answer with the nicety of, I'm doing well, how are you? This week, I haven't been able to say that to, I think, a single person, even though I've tried. I think the best answer that I've managed is, I'm doing. That's it. I want to tell you a little bit about my dad, even though people have already spoken about him. My dad was born on March 26, 1973, in Catalina de Guines, Cuba. He grew up on a small farm until 1980, when he came here on the Mariel boat lift with his two sisters and his mother. Our family is very small and very tight-knit. My dad always had a passion for law enforcement. Since he was 6 years old, he's always wanted to be a police officer. Shortly after graduating high school, he went to the academy. He graduated in 1996, where he soon after became hired with Palm Springs Police Department. He then became the first motorman for Palm Springs Police Department and paved the way for their motor unit. Shortly after that, he was hired with PBSO. He was so excited. He did road patrol there from about 2004 to 2008 in District 3. He then moved on to DUI, where he thrived. He received MAD awards every year. If you're not familiar, MAD awards are Mothers Against Drunk Driving. It means that you make over 100 DUI arrests every year, and my dad got one every single year. Every day he'd come home from work and I'd ask him what his new number was. He would update me. At the beginning of the year, it would start with 1 to 10. By the end of the year, it would always be over at 100. In 2014, my dad went back to his roots and joined the motor unit at PBSO once more. He thrived there. He was amazing. He was known for his skill and his tenacity, his precision. He would send me videos all the time of him at motor school, doing the courses, doing the tightest turns with the cones. I didn't really get it at the time, but now seeing it in action, seeing the escorts in action, it's amazing what these men do. A little more about my dad is he was an amazing cook. He made a mean chili, he made great scallops, and he loved a sweet treat. He was a lover of animals of all sizes, from the smallest little frog to a big scary snake. He loved them all. His dream was to retire, go somewhere with Shariska in the mountains or somewhere, and have a small farm again. My dad was kind, so kind he never used the word hate. He would always tell me, don't say hate, say you dislike something. He said that hate was a nasty word and that it filled your heart with evil intentions. He was fiercely loyal to everyone in his life, to me throughout my entire life, to all of his friends. He was very honest, so honest that you would really have to know if you wanted to go to him for advice, because he was not sugarcoating anything. He was funny, insanely funny. He could make anyone laugh. He gave everyone a silly nickname. As I already mentioned, a lot of boo-boos are in the room. A lot of girls are in the room. Another thing about my dad that I think I'll take with me forever is that he never accepted failure as an option. My dad could try something a million times. He wouldn't stop until he succeeded. He would carry that on with me. He would never let me give up on something until I succeeded. He persevered no matter what. And that was something that I always admired about him, was his strength, his perseverance, his ability to never give up. After the passing of one of his best friends, Donovan Burry, which I believe his family is in the room with us here today, something in my dad switched. He became a firm believer of how life was so short. He really took advantage of every single day. And every day he would say something like, if something happens to me, and I would tell him, stop talking about that, please. Never in my life did I think that I would have to be standing here in front of all of you today giving a speech about my dad. Never in my life did I think that I would have the week that I've had, to have to make the decisions that I've had to make at 24 years old on behalf of my dad. My dad treated every day like it was his last. He loved getting on that bike every day. Coincidentally, this was his favorite time of year because it wasn't hot. He loved getting on the motorcycle on these days. I would also like to thank President Trump for being here today. He took great pride in being part of your motorcade whenever you were in Palm Beach. He loved it, he always talked about it, and he always looked forward to it. I would like to leave you guys with some words today that I think my dad would carry on and want to carry on, and that's that life is short. Treat every day as if it's your last. Tell your loved ones that you love them every single day. Don't sweat the small stuff, and never accept failure as an option. And to my dad, to my daddy, we had a saying that we said to each other my entire life, and I've said it throughout this entire week, to him while he was in the ICU and at his private service. I would love you. You're my life, you're my world, you're my everything. Thank you everyone for your time today.